We will start the meeting as soon as the TC Media starts. Welcome, everyone, to the February 7th, 2023 Tumwater City Council meeting. We will call the meeting to order, and we will start off with roll call.
Councilmember Leetta Dahlhoff,
Present.
Councilmember Angela Jefferson,
Present.
Councilmember Joan Cathy, Councilmember Eileen Swarthout,
Present.
Councilmember Michael Althauser,
Present.
Councilmember Peter Agabi,
Present.
Councilmember Charlie Schneider,
Present.
and Mayor Debbie Sullivan.
I'm present. Thank you. Next, we will do the flag salute. So join me in our pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, next item is public comment. Do we have, I believe we have a public comment online. Is that correct?
That is correct, but he is currently not logged into the meeting.
Okay. And we have no comment. Anyone wants to do public comment? Okay. We will move to the next item, which is the consent calendar. Do I hear a motion? Councilmember Dahlhoff?
Move to approve.
Go ahead. Sorry. Go ahead.
I'll second.
All right, it's been moved in second. And all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. All right, we have a consent calendar, and with that, we have approved the minutes of our city council meeting from January 10th. I should say council work session from January 10th, council meeting from January 17th, council work session from January 24th. We paid vouchers, approved ordinance number O-2022-014, rental housing registration, resolution R 2023-0003 for surplus property, fuel tax agreement with the Transportation Improvement Board for Tumwater Boulevard interchange, also a local agreement with the City of Olympia for the Fire Training Center, interlocal agreement with the Washington Department of Transportation for maintenance of the Palermo Treatment Lagoon, and reappointment for Brett Chapman and Michael Jackson for the Tree Board. So, and I will make note that Councilmember Cathy has joined. So it's probably going to be a really easy meeting this evening. We only have, I know, don't jinx it. We only have one item under council considerations, and that is resolution R 2023-005, the Brewmaster House emergency repair and restoration. And Chuck Denny will go ahead and do that presentation.
Thank you, Mayor Sullivan. Normally I come to this body and talk about what great things we're doing or some great event that's coming up or something that's happened in the community. And it's all fun and good. This is a little more somber subject, but a very important one nonetheless. talking about our brewmaster's house, formerly the Henderson House on Deschutes Parkway. There was an arson fire there on Saturday, the 21st of January that did damage to the house. And that's why I'm before you today with an emergency resolution. And I'll give you a little bit of background on what happened at the house and what it looks like and the path that we're going down to make repairs to the house. And then I'll be happy to answer any questions that you may have or questions along the way. So this is the front of the brewmaster's house from this morning. I think you all know where it is and what it looks like. To give you a little background on where the damage was done, this is the back side of the house. So you can see Deschutes Parkway out here. In the very basement of the house, we have a concrete room down here. It's totally surrounded by concrete. It holds some really old event supplies. And it also has the IT server for that house, for the Crosby house, and for the old brew tower. So there is a fair amount of computer electronic equipment in that room. Right above that room is what we call the back porch. And you can see this area right here. It has kind of different siding on it. There's a door and it has a different siding over on this side as well. That used to be an actual porch to the house. At some point in the past, it was closed in. So siding was put on the outside. And then the third level up here, this is an office. That office is where mostly volunteers would go and work on a computer to put things into the city's archive. So we'd have a photo of the old brew tower from such and such a date that somebody took. We'd take that information, scan the photo, and put it in the city's electronic archive. So those are the three rooms that were affected by the fire. Looking from the north side of the house, again, you see this is the bottom storage room, this is the back porch room, and then this is the office up here. The fire was started right underneath this deck. Person with a torch lit a plastic pipe that was covered in silt fabric. That burned very well, evidently burned around the corner and ended up catching the house on fire right here. And then the fire worked its way up the house that way. I'll give a shout out to police and fire. You see Officer Stauffer here in the picture. He and a couple other police did a great job of closing Deschutes Parkway to the public and controlling that scene. Fire department, again, a fantastic job of putting that fire out. Had it been, another 10, 15 minutes, the house would have been probably a total loss, as the fire would have made it to the attic. And as they tell me, that would have been the death knell for this structure. So they were able to get it out fairly quickly, and the damage was just really to these three rooms and to the 4 doors in the house, because they had to break in all of the doors. So there's damage to those historic fixtures. So this is how it looks. This is how it looks today. Our facilities staff went down and did some cleanup and secured it with plywood. They also secured all the doors back in place. So the building itself is secure. This is the back porch room. How it looks, this was the main area that was affected with actual fire damage. This is the outside wall right here. It's covered with plywood, so you can't see that the side is the house is actually missing. And this is the view of that room from the kitchen. So you can see smoke damage on the door. The door was closed, and this room is pretty much destroyed. Upstairs, this is the office room. A lot of the furniture is taken out, damaged, and is gone, but fire had to access the walls to make sure that there was no fire within the wall cavity. So they took off the siding from the inside and a little bit from the outside, and took out the furniture as well. So that's the main point of damage. Everything in the lower storage room, the concrete room I talked about, that has all been disposed of. All of those supplies were damaged by fire and water, and the computer equipment, some of which was okay, even though it took a direct shot from a fire hose. Some of it was okay, and the rest of it has been repaired. So we're back up in good functioning standing there. The room in the back kitchen, almost everything in this room has been thrown away. And if it hasn't been thrown away yet, you can see some storage boxes there. It will be thrown away. That was pretty heavily damaged in that spot. And then the upstairs room, everything that needed to be thrown away is thrown away. And we're evaluating the rest of the things in the room and to see if those can be salvaged or not. So going from here, the fire was on the 21st. The mayor did sign an emergency declaration. And I'm bringing that before you tonight. I have met with representatives from the Washington City's Insurance Authority on 2 different occasions at the house. The house is insured, and it's insured up to $1 million. That's for both. It's $1 million total, both for the structure and the contents. Repairing the structure itself isn't going to be all that expensive. It's a little joist work, some siding work, some flooring, things like that. The contents of the house, there's a lot of smoke damage. Every room in the house, from the main floor and the top floor, had a lot of smoke in it, smoke coming out of every window. So there is smoke damage to the contents, the floors, the carpets, some of the clothing that was stored there, some of the, I don't know if I would call it the archive, but it's just, yeah, it's a lot of clothing and some things like a piano, typewriters, roller washing machine, things like that we have in the house. So we'll be evaluating that stuff. On positive note, the city's archive, the city's photo archive that's kept at the house in the basement, for the most part, nothing in that part of the basement was affected. Certainly wasn't affected by fire or water, and minimally affected by smoke damage. So we've removed some of the stuff out of the very basement, some of the archive stuff. I brought some to City Hall and stored it in our office so that staff could smell it for me and tell me if it smelled like smoke. And I think we're pretty safe there. So we're looking at alternatives for the photo archive, which is really just 4 file cabinets full of photos that we have cataloged. We have all digital images of all that stuff. So we're looking to move that either to state archives or to the Schmidt House. The Olympia Tumwater Foundation has offered to provide space for us for that archive, as they have just upgraded their archive storage room with fire suppression and new doors. So we're evaluating that right now. So that's the positive side. The negative side is we have a lot of work to do. Initial estimates is probably 8 or 9 months of work to do to get the house back to what it was just a few weeks ago. Granny, you took my list away. Could you go back to that? Okay, now I know what we're doing still. It's going very well with WCIA. They're very supportive of what we're doing. We've also been in contact with Heritage Restoration. That's a company that comes in and deals with houses that have fire and smoke damage. Based on WCIA's recommendation and past projects that Heritage has worked with, we're going to go with them as the company that will help us restore the house. It's not as easy as just doing a contract and telling them, hey, jump at it, let's get this fixed. We need to do an evaluation of what the damage is before we can actually begin to do repairs. So we'll move forward with a service provider agreement to do an evaluation. We're going to come up with a plan on what it's going to take to fix the structure itself, and then a much larger plan and certainly a much more costly plan to deal with the contents of the house. Do we have to take everything out of the house and have it treated through ozone or some other method before we can bring it back? It also gives us an opportunity to go through and really get rid of some stuff that has just been piling up there forever that we don't need in that house. So we'll be coming back to you with that. So I'm here before you tonight asking you to adopt the resolution R2023-005, finding the existence of an emergency and ratifying the mayor's emergency declaration and the waiver of competitive bidding requirements for the brewmaster's house. Once we've done that, if you choose to do that, we'll move forward with a service provider agreement, which will be signed by the city administrator to do the evaluation of the house. And we have 2 weeks from that point to come back to you to get you to approve that. So well, I'm somewhat coming to you and saying, hey, we're going to do a blank check for a few weeks because we don't know how much this is going to cost. Following the guidelines or the law, you might say, when we do a service provider agreement, we have 2 weeks to come back to you and get you to approve that. So that's the path we're heading down. service provider agreement will get us through the evaluation. Then we'll come back and we'll do a public works contract in a more normal fashion to do the work, the major work on the house. Did I say that right, Karen?
Actually, whoa. The statute requires that after the declaration of an emergency, that we come to the council to ratify that and make findings of that emergency. This resolution is actually drafted to allow the city administrator to now and waive competitive bidding to enter into contracts in order to do the repair and restoration. As Chuck mentioned, we don't have a dollar amount at the moment, but we do have insurance coverage up to $1 million. So you could set a limit on this, or you could, I mean, I think the plan based on how this is drafted is that we would go ahead and enter into contracts to get this work done up to that amount. And should it go over what we're insured for, then we would come back to the council for approval of any additional funds that might be needed. You can structure it however you'd like, but that's the intent behind what's in front of you tonight.
Questions, Councilmember Jefferson.
Yes, so my question is there any information about the suspect who done this?
Chief Wex is here and he might want to speak to that, but I'll say we had security cameras in place. We have that around both of our historic homes. We got great video footage of the person and forwarded that to police, and they did make an arrest of the individual. And as I understand it, he admitted that yes, that's what he did.
I'll go to Councilmember Dolhoff and then I'll go to Councilmember Snyder. Did you? Okay.
Thanks, Mayor. I know in the budget we just passed, we had a line item for upgrades. Was it the brew house or for the Crosby house?
Crosby House.
Then never mind. Thank you, Chuck.
Councilmember Snyder.
Thank you, Mayor. For clarification, Chuck, you mentioned we had a $1 million policy and Karen mentioned 2 million. So is 2 million the correct figure then?
No, it was 1 million.
Yeah, it is 1 million.
Okay, thank you.
Councilmember Althauser.
Thanks. I have two questions. So I'm sure I speak for everyone when I say that we're very thankful that the photos are recovered without what appears to be a significant amount of damage. If it, in the coming weeks, as you sort of inspect, I guess, I don't know if artifacts is the right word, but other pieces of historical memorabilia and things in the house, and it turns out that things are a loss and are not recoverable or salvageable, I think it would be good for us to just sort of know that, so we sort of understand the gravity of what happens if that's something that could be conveyed to us moving forward.
Yeah,
Like
absolutely.
if anything has to get thrown away or trashed that is of significant historical value.
Certainly. I think as I've gone through and looked at the condition of things, I think we have a number of dresses from like the 50s and 60s for some reason that are in one of the bedrooms just hanging up. I don't know that those will be salvageable or worth trying to salvage from the smoke damage. Everything else, prior staff and a whole bunch of volunteer time has been put into documenting every single thing in that house. So it's all on a computer archive. And we can go check and we can check through, and things that we get rid of, we'll document both for our sake and for insurance.
Yeah. Okay. That's great.
So absolutely, we can let you know.
Okay. And then my second question. So the purpose of declaring an emergency is essentially speed. Is that right? Like you'll have flexibility in terms of selecting a contractor, flexibility in terms of signing that quickly instead of waiting for our council meetings every 2 weeks.
Yeah.
To engage in that. So that's correct, right? Like
That's-
the purpose is for us to get started to fix it as soon as possible so that there isn't further water damage and so on and so forth, correct?
Yeah, Stan Osborne, our Parks and Facilities Manager, has been working with Heritage Restoration. I thought we might have a contract done by today, but I think we'll have it probably done this week. And so we can really start work, which is lightning speed for a city. So yeah, that is the purpose of this.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions or comments?
This is sort of
Councilmember Gabi,
Yes, yes, Mayor.
do you want to pull your speaker up just a little bit? Thank you.
Long day. So is the assessment going to be done at the same time the repair is being done, or the assessment done and then repair?
We'll do the assessment first. So we have a dollar figure that we know we're working from. And some of that, undoubtedly will be time and materials to fix some of that stuff. Or maybe most of that stuff, but we need to work out what it is and how much of it is so we can really put a dollar figure to it before we commit city funds or WCIA funds.
Thank you.
Any other questions? So I'm looking for action on the resolution. Councilmember Daha.
Move to adopt resolution number R 2023-005.
Second?
Okay, it's been moved by Councilmember Dahlhoff, second by Councilmember Agabi. Any discussion on the motion? With that, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries. Thank you very much. All right, this is going, yeah,
And, we'll be at the house a lot, either me or one of my staff. If any of you want to come see the damage yourself, just call our department and let us know, and we'll be happy to meet you there and show you what's going on.
perfect. Okay, with that, we will be moving into committee reports. First one is Public Health and Safety Committee and Councilmember Dahlhoff.
Thank you, Mayor. Public Health and Safety Committee will be meeting next Tuesday, February 14th at 8 a.m. The agenda items include K9 update, meet our new handler and K9 Thor. And I'm just wondering if our chief, is that like going to be in person? Like, do we need to be in person, or will they actually be, Thor will be on video? When it's, because I think other people want to maybe attend our meeting next Tuesday, 8 o'clock in the morning.
Thank you. No, we will be just doing a canine update because we knew it was in virtual land, and that's kind of hard to meet the handler and the dog. So we're working with Mayor Sullivan right now to bring Canine Thor to the council meeting.
Ooh, all right. I take back my scowly face. Thank you so much. And then after we get an update on our new canine handler and Thor, we're going to have Terrence O'Reilly from South Sound Behavioral Hospital come and give us an update.
Great. Next item is General Government Committee, Councilmember Althauser.
Thank you, Mayor. The General Government Committee will be meeting tomorrow morning, bright and early at 8 a.m. It's our first meeting for our new meeting time. So thank you to Councilmember Kathy and Councilmember Dahl for entertaining my request that we move that a little earlier in the day. We will be discussing the Regional Housing Council interlocal agreement. We'll also be discussing the Urban Forestry Management Plan amendments regarding the tree and vegetation preservation regulations. And then we'll be discussing again the 2023 Comprehensive Plan Amendment.
Thank you. Councilmember Swarthout, Public Works Committee.
Public Works meeting on February 9th has been canceled. There's not anything for the agenda.
Great. And there was no Budget and Finance Committee. So we will move on to Mayor City Administrator report. And you don't have, the City Administrator does not have anything. All right. So I will then go to my report. So on January 27th, I attended the State of the City for the Thurston County Realtors. So it's basically the same information I gave at the Tumwater Chamber and the other organizations, but that information was then given to the Thurston County Realtors. I'm also attended a WashDOT I-5 Marvin Road to Mounts Road. I'm part of the Executive Advisory Group. That's going to consist of 4 meetings, and we had our first meeting. So I will keep you updated if there's anything significant. One of the things that, 2 things that I brought up with that meeting was, one, they had Pierce Transit as a transit representative, which I suggested that they bring on Intercity Transit as the transit representative, because Pierce Transit does not come into Thurston County, doesn't go south. So they need to bring the appropriate players to the table. And I also reminded them, even though I'm very aware that this is just the Marvin to Mounts Road part, did not want them to forget that we are going to bring that whole study clear to exit 99 or the 93rd Street exit. So, and then I attended an intercity transit authority meeting on February 1st, and some of the main items to that is we surplused several vehicles were valued at about $179,000 or $180,000. And unfortunately, all of those surplus van vehicles that they did will not be available for our van grant program that Intercity Transit does, because the funds used for that were federal funded. And so we're not able to provide grants and do that. So they will all be surplused, which is very sad. And then we also had an update and approved the contract to improve the Martin Way Park and Ride. So there's going to be an extra exit. So that will be, that work will be done. We also discussed the part 4 of the Patterson Street intercity transit property upgrade. So where the facility, the main administrative building had been all those years, that part will be demolished, a parking lot, upgrading some of the maintenance facilities. And so then hopefully then the entire project will be done at that point. We also did elections. I am Councilmember Swarthout is TRPC representative for the city. I'll be the TRPC representative for intercity transit. So we will have a couple of voices on that committee. We also had 2 mobility grants for WashDOT. One of them was for rear door boarding for 55 bus stops, because now we do the rear door boarding and exits. And then also we have applied for a $6.8 million WashDOT Green Transportation Grant, because Intercity Transit is looking at using green hydrogen fuel cell buses, and we're trying to do a demonstration project with that so we can do 0 emissions. And one of the interesting things too is the van pool. They've been advertising. I'm sure everyone got a postcard in the mail about the van pool. We've fixed this, the fee structure on that. And in January, 10 van pools groups were formed, and 4 of them were from the Costco on 93rd. So that was very good. 3 of them were for the Lacey Fire Department, and 3 of them were for the National Guard. So one of the notes of interest was that one of the coach operators, his name is Ted DeBow. He happened to run across, when he was driving his bus, ran across a unresponsive person that was laying on the sidewalk. He stopped the vehicle, jumped out, started doing chest compressions, called 911, and was able to actually save that person's life. So bus drivers see a lot of things. So that's like the second one. Another one of the bus drivers got an award. She saw somebody who was going to jump over the overpass on Slater Kenny, and she was able to actually talk that person off doing that. So our bus drivers do a way more than what people normally do, and I just don't think that they get the credit that they deserve for being out there and just really keeping our public safe. So that's my report. So with that, I think Councilmember Swarthout, do you mind if I start with you? Or Count?
I'm never first.
I know, we're trying to
Well,
mix
thank
it
you.
up.
Surprise. I was there looking at my agenda here, figuring out what I was going to say. So for my report is I attended the Climate Action Steering Committee retreat on January 23rd. And we have amazing new people that we've hired the 3 of them got together, actually, and also Lacey, but they got together and they went over the staff proposal for our climate mitigation implementation. And so they laid out some proposals that identifies new roles for the parties involved. And so the proposal is a result of a change of conditions from when the plan was first adopted. At the time of adoption, the jurisdictions did not have dedicated full-time staff working on climate mitigation. And so now currently 3 out of the 4 jurisdictions have hired staff. And the new structure will place more responsibility on staff and is less rigid and hierarchical to allow for more overlap between different groups. And so this was a big change for us. So that was climate mitigation. And then I did attend the TRPC meeting on February 3rd. And on that, we discussed, we'll be doing the evaluation for Mark Daly. And then the best thing, we had a presentation on the Deschutes estuary. And I always like seeing that. And they had some really nice graphics this time as far as the timing, how everything will be going. So, the one thing I wrote down is that if everything goes as planned in 2037, they'll be able to remove the dam. So something to look forward to. So that's the end of my report.
Thank you. Councilmember Althauser.
Thanks, Mayor. I attended the Regional Housing Council meeting along with Councilmember Kathy on Wednesday, January 25th. We had a very packed agenda. We did elections for chair and vice chair, and Councilmember Cox will serve another term as the chair, and County Commissioner Mejia will continue to serve as the vice chair. I'd say the lion's share of the time was spent talking about an item that I discussed in my last council report called the Southport Project. The Southport Project is a proposal to build 162 units of permanently affordable housing by the co-op by the freeway on the west side. And they are seeking a public contribution of about $2.6 million in order to qualify for low-income housing tax credits through the State Housing Finance Commission. And if they receive that local match, they can make that project pencil for 162 units of permanently affordable housing. I think the lease says 90 years, which I don't think you can write in perpetuity, but 90 years is kind of as close as you could come, because that's sort of the functional lifetime for that building. So $2 million for 162 units is just about as good of a deal as you could possibly hope for. And so far, the city of Olympia has committed about half of that sum, about $1.3 million in some funds that were in the balance of their home fund account. And we, as the RHC, directed staff to look into what it would take to find that funding to commit the other half. This is outside of there's a little bit of controversy about this because it's outside of our usual RFP process. Usually we issue RFPs in the spring. We hear from service providers and then we evaluate those. This is a situation that hadn't really come before us before because we're so new as an entity that we didn't really have a process to look at, well, what happens when a really good project that we all want to do arises outside of that timeline. So we have sort of directed to take some next steps and to then also ask staff to come up with a policy so that when this happens again, and to be clear, I hope it happens again. This is a problem we want to have where people are coming to us with great projects. But so when this happens again, we're able to have a more transparent policy moving forward for that. We also talked about our interlocal agreement, which the General Government Committee will be talking about tomorrow. We finalized some of our spring funding priorities and RFPs. And we also talked about our RHC advisory boards. One of the directions that we gave staff after our last retreat was that we want to build in a lot more lived experience into the decision-making process, a lot more expertise into our process before we make decisions on the board. And one of the ways we're doing that is establishing 2 different advisory boards for the RHC, one of which talks about affordable housing, and another one is more focused on homelessness and people, our neighbors who are living outside. So we looked at some of the criteria that will go out to the community and a call for board members for people to apply so we can then vet those applications and establish those boards. And that is my report.
Thank you. Councilmember Dolhoff.
Thank you, Mayor. I have 3 highlights from 3 meetings. Thurston County 911 Communications met, and there is a delay regarding their radio replacements, which was on the ballot a few years ago that was passed because of supply chain issues. So one tidbit that I learned is that when they were switching out the radios in a vehicle at one station, the vehicle caught on fire. So the importance of having experts replace the equipment and having it under warranty was highlighted in that meeting. So that's still underway. In Tumwater, I think all of our equipment has been replaced and nothing caught on fire. So it's good news there. The next meeting was Thurston County Opioid Response Task Force, and we got an update regarding naloxone access at local pharmacies, and Tumwater pharmacies were in that pilot. And what they did is they went to 45 pharmacies, Lacey, Olympia, Tumwater, and South. And they asked 3 questions regarding, do you need a prescription to get naloxone? How many kits can you get? And then is there an age requirement? And they found inconsistencies at the majority of pharmacies. And that includes pharmacies in Tumwater. So most people might not know that there is a Washington State statewide standing order to dispense naloxone that you can either use, get your own prescription for it, but you don't need a prescription and there's no age limit. So if you, I have one in my car, and I think we have police have them, fire have them. There's some hotels in Tumwater that has taken the training. There's, I think the school districts have them. And so anyone can have naloxone on them. So if you witness someone or you have someone you love who's experiencing challenges, substance use, we should all have naloxone on us. So just a reminder that there is a standing order to get a naloxone prescription. And the last one is today, I didn't have a chance to email you all, but I had a conversation with Thurston Public Utility District Commissioner, Thurston PUD. For those who aren't on city water or on well water, it's Thurston PUD, and their rates went up. So there's a rate increase for 2023. And so I've been getting some questions from my neighboring area where I'm at on the southwest part of Tumwater. We're still on well water with PUD. And so one of the commissioners was asking, could we do like a work session or just a get together? I don't know the last time we ever met with PUD. Has that even happened? Just because the rate increase was so much in their infrastructure and the wells and the water rights and all that kind of stuff. And I think it just might be informative for people in Tumwater. I think they have 279 well water rights and they serve 10,000 customers. I don't know what portion of that is in Tumwater, but it's significant enough. And so that had come up. And so I said, I would share that tonight. Maybe that could be a topic of discussion and meet and greet. There's a new chair, right? We have new council members, a new mayor. So interesting because their rates went up. The average bill is $40 a month. That's significant. So that's the end of my report.
Thank you. Councilmember Agabi.
So on January 25th, I attended the EDC board meeting, and at the meeting, the only thing worthy of notice is that we had a guest that came and made a presentation about an intended use for of I-5 in Maytown. On the right side of the road, if you're going down south, the port authority, when I was presenting, they were presenting information about some developer who had the idea that they would put a big old warehouse that the square footage and intended use would be very kind of controversial. So this was just an FYI information, wasn't really aware yet. They haven't presented an application yet. They were just kind of signing this off board member, see what we think. But overall, it was either 50-50, go and don't go. So we'll see, wait and see. And then we presented information about BIROP, which I think is business minority business owners in Thurston County, and data showing increase franchise, increase opportunity for people of color, in Tustin County, and that was that. And I had a meeting with JASCOM yesterday, the Joint Animal Committee yesterday. So currently that animal shelter piping is not conducive to the usage because of dog poop and mostly chlorine that goes down this piping that was put there, I believe, back in the 70s or the early 80s. And currently the city of Lacey go to that facility every month to pump, to blow out the pipe, but that is not doing it. And from what we're being told, that there's backup everywhere, and that does not look good. So we had a budget, approved a budget amendment for $115,000 for emergency repair. Even though they're only going to be at that building for 2 more years, they need to do this repair right now if they are going to continue to use that building. So, and then for the open position, for the open veterinary position for JASCOM, we appointed Victoria Smith to fill that position. And that is that.
Thank you. Councilmember Jefferson.
Thank you, Mayor. At the 18 January AM EMS committee meeting, we discussed the current state of healthcare constraints extensively. There is a severe nursing shortage in Thurston County and across the country due to exploding population growth in Thurston County. There's an increase in 911 demand, hospital demand, and an increase in call volume overall. For the first time ever, we've documented over 40,000 calls per year. So 40,000 calls per year. Our EMTs are spending 2, 3, 4 hours at area hospitals waiting to unload patients. The longest time waiting for a bed in the ER is 9 hours. This forces ambulances to remain at the hospital and can't return quickly back to the field. This is increasing response times. And again, for the first time ever, EMS response times dropped to 90%. The minimum acceptable rate or standard for responding to 911 calls. So this is the threshold where the state starts asking for explanations. So some initiatives to fix this. What is the plan? There are now 2 part-time EMTs stationed at the hospital ER entrance waiting for ambulances to help unload. Their duty is to monitor and stabilize up to 4 patients until a hospital is ready to accept them. The hospitals are attempting to add 29 more bed space. They are now at 51 and will increase to 80. At PM, I attended the Tumwater Hopes Coalition. We discussed the Action New Plan update. 60% of the programs we adopt must be evidence-based. One program called Sport, which teaches kids to reduce the need to use tobacco, is not evidence-based. So we decided not to adopt the program, and we're going to go with 2 other programs. We discussed finding a program to teach about fentanyl use. The program director said that the drug is new, so there may not be many programs on fentanyl use yet. I mentioned that we might want to be proactive, especially since the use of fentanyl is increasing in the community and in the county. We discussed new member outreach and identifying new potential partners for the community. We closed with some group members agreeing to place drug-free campus signs in front of all school entrances during the following week. At the Law and Justice meeting on 19 January, we discussed the committee's role with Thurston Thrives and the work of the strategic planning subcommittees. I am on that committee, and we have met most of the goals of the old plan, but it's old since 2015. It's time to update it. Our next meeting is this Friday at 1500. That's 3 p.m. Finally, we discussed a new program. It's called the Homeless Court Model, taking the courts to the streets, to the homeless living in the streets. And this program was started in San Diego in 1989. And the model is being adopted across cities in the United States. This is for homeless individuals facing misdemeanor charges. Right now, there are 2,600 of these individuals in the criminal justice system waiting to resolve their case. They are referred by agencies in the community. It is voluntary, and the goal is to get them out of homelessness and get them mental health services. This is not for sex offenders, felony cases, open DUI, or domestic violence offensive. Finally, on the 31st of January, I was judged along with Councilmember Schneider, Chief Hurley, Lieutenant Jen Colby for the first battle for the Billy Goat over at Tumwater High School. The intent was to build camaraderie, community pride, and teamwork over 2 basketball games between Tumwater High and Black Hills. The goal was met. Black Hills won the Billy Goat, and now the stuffed goat gives them bragging rights for the rest of the year. That is my report.
Great, thank you. Councilmember Snyder.
Thank you, Mayor. So I didn't attend any meetings since the last city council meeting, and I've also been on vacation since then. And that's pretty much all I have to say this evening.
Oh, great, thank you.
You're welcome.
Councilmember Kathy.
You didn't tell them where you went, Charlie, to the city of Las Vegas. You notice what you do in Las Vegas stays in Las Vegas. I know that, yeah. I want to first apologize for being late. I had a solid waste advisory council meeting last week, and as you heard from Councilmember Althauser's report, we had a very busy regional housing council meeting, and there's a lot of important things going on right now in Thurston County and also in Tumwater, and I'm proud of what Tumwater is doing and contributing to local housing, not only the conversation, but what we're hopefully doing with our partnership with the Housing Authority. So all of those things are discussed. And tomorrow, I have an ORCA meeting, Olympic Region Clean Air Authority meeting. And if I get up in time, I will be going to the General Government Committee, their time to 8 a.m. It's been a little while since I've been to an 8 a.m. meeting, but both Michael and Leetta offered to drop by with some coffee if I thought I needed it, but I'm going to prove that I don't. So anyway, I will see you all tomorrow at the General Government Committee meeting, and that's my report.
Great, thank you. Councilmember Snyder, did you have something else?
I did.
He wants to.
First of all, I did go to Las Vegas, but I took my grandson, Nancy and I did. He turned 16 and we went to the Pro Bowl. So I didn't go to the gamble. Let's just make that clear. And second of all, if my memory serves me correct, I believe our mayor will be at Old Town Center tomorrow at 10 o'clock to make a presentation there at the Old Town Center building just before lunch. And that's all I have to say.
Great, thank you. Yes, I will be there tomorrow morning. So any other business? Councilmember Dolha.
Really quick for the record, I just want to thank Angela and Charlie for going to that basketball and judging. And I would like to say for the record that I wanted to do it, but they said if you had graduated from one of the schools, you couldn't. So I just want for the record, I'm still resentful of that fact and that I would like to be able to do it next year. So if we could just send these meeting minutes to the school districts. So.
Great, thank you. All right, any other business? All right, with that, we are adjourned. Good night, everyone.